Thank you for having me. Thank you to everyone who requested to hear my beautiful voice too. I appreciate that.
It's actually interesting. We recently saw your game that you were at in Montreal was actually a game that you were at in the same section as one of our viewers, Mr. Big Hog Hockey. We figured it out because he actually broadcasted live from that game. And then we saw a video of you later, and it ended up that you guys were actually sitting in the same section. So it's pretty crazy what kind of small world that we're living in with that kind of a situation. Eh, Mr. Nucko?
I wonder if I met him. I guess I wouldn't have because you'd probably tell me, but I met a couple people there, so yeah, it was very fun. It was a really interesting game. I mean, obviously it didn't work out great. I mean, you were obviously watching it, but it was fun. At least it was like one of the only games in 2025 where they actually scored goals. So I got that.
Yeah, in the last little while, I think they're like what, like a minus 19 in the recent games that they've played.
Yeah, don't love that.
So we start off here on Nothing is Perfect when we're introducing new guests. We ask them a very fine question. What's your favorite hockey team?
My favorite hockey team, believe it or not, is the Vancouver Canucks. Now that might come as a shock, but it is them, in fact.
So Canucks are your favorite team. Do you have a favorite Canucks player of all time?
See, I'm young. I don't know what the age group is for your viewer base, so some of them are, I mean, if some of them are old enough, they're probably gonna make fun of me. But the player who really got me most into Canucks hockey was Bo Horvat. So honestly, if I'm going all time without the recency bias, it's got to be Bo. Being from London, Ontario, I got to watch him as a London Knight, and then I guess I got to see him drafted to the Canucks, and then slowly work his way up to being the captain. And I mean, it was just really cool to get to see his career progress. And even though he's on Long Island now, he said some things that he feels bad about, so it's okay. He would have to be my favorite player of all time.
Well, he was my wife's favorite player as well. She was pretty sad when he got traded.
It was depressing. I was in class when that happened, and there's a video that my friend took of me just looking at my phone like this for like a solid 10 seconds.
So what would you say would be your most memorable hockey moment as a fan then?
This one, growing up, there was really nothing. I grew up in a Leafs household. I only really branched off to be a Canucks fan after 2011 had already happened. So I wasn't around for all that. And in the time of me being a Canucks fan, they've made the playoffs only 3 times. So not a whole lot to go from. The series against Calgary in 2015 really wasn't that great. The bubble series, there are really two goals that stick out in my mind when I think of best Canucks moment in my time as a fan. And it's Chris Tanev's OT winner against Minnesota in game 4 to move us on past the play-in, and Elias Lindholm's goal also in game 4 to complete that crazy comeback. And I think looking back in like 5 years on what the best moment as a Canucks fan in the first decade of watching was, got to be the Lindholm one. It's kind of sad that a round 1 overtime winner is the one that gets the prize there, but that game was so electric.
I find it interesting. A lot of the guests that are coming on, when they tell us about their favorite hockey moment, it ends up being some kind of an overtime goal, like Trevor Linden against Dallas or Burroughs slaying the Dragon. Those are kind of maybe special overtime juice.
It would definitely be slaying the dragon if I weren't 8 years old when that happened. Obviously, I've watched that goal like time and time again, despite the fact I didn't care then. Because I mean, I don't know if I've ever heard a crowd pop like that in my life.
So, what brought you over to the dark side? Growing up in a house that cheered for the Leafs, what actually brought you over to cheer for the Vancouver Canucks instead?
I don't know if moving away from Toronto is joining the dark side. It might be the other way around there, but basically, I really grew up a fan of baseball. Like when I was a lot younger, I didn't really care about hockey as much, so I just kind of went with what the family went with. When I was like, wait, this hockey thing's kind of dope. I wanted to explore further. I wanted some individuality, so I decided I wanted my own team. I had 3 finalists for my favorite team. It was Vancouver, Pittsburgh, and Detroit.
Mhm.
And although I would have had cups if I picked Pittsburgh, I'm glad I didn't because that's so bandwagon. It's crazy. Like common 10-year-old going for Sidney Crosby. Uh, Detroit would have been cool. I mean, I do still like Detroit, but even though Vancouver sucks, like I think I made the right choice because it's pretty fun to be a fan. So I pretty much picked randomly. I definitely part of it was that I wanted to keep it a Canadian team, and I just kind of landed on it. I mean, I there aren't a crazy amount of reasons. I was just kind of 10, and I was like, I'll pick this team.
So did you play hockey at all growing up?
I didn't play ice hockey. I took skating lessons when I was 8, and I fell on my head, and I didn't want to do it anymore. I grew up playing baseball. I was pretty good at that. But I did play ball hockey, which is something. It's sort of something.
So did you have a favorite moment as a ball hockey player?
100%. I think I played like 3 years of it from age 10 to 13. But the one that the season that was like the most fun season was my very first one, age 10. And we got to the semifinals, and it ended up in a shootout. And it was like going back and forth. I was the fifth shooter on my team, and the age group was 10 to 12, so I was like the youngest guy on the team. I got to go up fifth, and it's one of those ones where both shooters go at the same time. So I didn't know what the other guy was doing. I just had to worry about me. I remembered the goalie coming way out for no reason, like flying poke check, and I just like calmly went around him, shot it in. Didn't know what happened until I saw everybody on the bench running towards me, which was like really fun. Like in baseball, the only time you really get mobbed by your teammates is if you hit a home run. And I wasn't really a power hitter. I was a pitcher, and a contact hitter when I hit. So I didn't get that moment in baseball ever. It was kind of fun to be mobbed by my teammates for once. So that one sticks out of my head a lot.
So you're saying that in the playoffs, you actually shot at the same time as the other shooter?
Both guys shooting at the same time in the shootout. Yeah, like yeah, we both started from like around the center ice circle or center floor circle, and just like I guess they didn't want to eat up that much time because there were other games after too. So, but yeah, it was kind of nerve-wracking because you don't want to be the one who misses and the other person scores. That would be terrible.
I mean, that's something maybe we want to look at bringing to the NHL level.
It is kind of an like the shootout is so boring that it might spice it up a little bit.
I mean, it's one thing to be a Canucks fan. It's a whole nother thing to be a Canucks content creator. What kind of started you on your journey as a Canucks content creator on Instagram and all these different sites?
So it was the original account I made was like right after I turned 14. And I did it through the summer. I don't know why, but I started in August. And I did that from August until December. And I got to like, I think I got to 1,200 followers. And I was like, this is stupid. Why am I doing this? And gave up in December of 2017. And then 1 month later, I was bored. So I was like, okay, I'm bringing it back. Really, the thing that made me want to do it more was all my friends in high school were really into soccer and basketball. So I didn't have anyone to talk about hockey with. So I wanted to find, like an online community to be able to do that with. And so I made nucksmemes. Sometimes I scroll back and look at my first post and it's like, how did I ever gain followers in the first place? Because, oh my goodness, 14-year-old me was not that funny. But yeah, I just found the motivation to keep going with that. I started to gain more followers. I worked on my content a little bit. I turned it up a notch. And I found a community there. I've gotten a lot of friends from that account. So it's easy to keep going with how big it's been in my life and how much I've gained from it.
Yeah, it's been really cool. Even here, we've been streaming games ever since the beginning of the preseason this year, and it's just been cool to see the community grow. It's very cool to interact with the Canucks fans every single game. It makes it easier when they're losing to have somebody to chat to about it. So it's been really, really fun to
building a little bit of a community. It's fun.
So what have you learned in your time as a Canucks content creator? Is there anything that you've really had to kind of overcome or really change things up as you've been going through the process?
Oh, probably off seasons. It's brutal during off seasons. It still is, but I've just had to muscle through that. There was one summer where I posted every single day in the off season. I don't know how I did that. It could not have been good content, but having to work through a time when absolutely nothing is happening. If you can get through that, then you can do it the rest of the 9 months of the year. So. Other than that, I don't know if there's any specific moments that I had to overcome. Like I've had times where I've wanted to quit because it takes up some time and it's kind of just stupid, it's not like I have the most intellectual Instagram account of all time. But I've been too lazy to quit those times, and now it's way in the rearview mirror. I don't want to stop doing it at all. I enjoy doing it, even though it's goofy. It's fun to do, and that's really what matters. So really, it's just the motivation part that has been able to get me through. Like I needed that motivation, I had it, and now I'm here.
I mean, that's the thing, as in my day job, that's the thing that you hear on a regular basis from people who hear that I'm doing this, is that they're sick and tired. They don't want to see Gazdic on their intermissions breaking down the game. They want to see someone who's going to make them laugh. They're going to want to see someone who knows their Canucks hockey. They don't want just some random person, right? So it's interesting that now people are turning to social media to find their Canucks content creation, which is very cool.
Yeah, it's so boring. You look at like NHL on TNT, you look at that panel, they're having so much fun. I would love something like that. They're breaking the set with pucks. Like that's sick. That's what it needs to be turned towards, not just like four guys droning on. Other than BX, BX is cool.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about your work on Canucks Chronicles, and what can people expect when they tune into that webpage? Because it's essentially like Canucks newspaper that you guys are doing online, eh?
So Canucks Chronicles is a student created thing. It's an outlet by two guys named Alex and Ryan. And Alex had reached out to me over the summer because I had expressed an interest on in my story about doing more serious stuff, writing articles about the Canucks. So it's a really loose thing. There's not a lot holding me to it, but I'm holding myself to at least like one article per week, and we give our opinions. I really think it's quite good. Like, I read a lot of different Canucks websites, and comparing it to not myself, I'm not trying to be cocky, but the other people on the website, their articles are also great. So I think it's cool to get the opinion from guys who can clearly get their opinion out, but also are like younger, have some stuff going on. It's a passion project right now. And I think that's what it needs to be. I think it's quite interesting. And we don't hold back on our opinions that often. I mean, I've tried this year a little bit. I don't want to be too mean, but you can read between the lines sometimes with what I'm saying. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a good website. We don't have too many writers right now. I think if anybody wants to reach out, I think that there's an opportunity. If you go to the Canucks Chronicles Instagram, I don't know what they're looking for right now. I didn't talk to them before doing this. You might get turned away. I don't know, but it couldn't. If you want to write about the team, it couldn't hurt to reach out to them.
Yeah,
They're very great guys.
You seem like a very busy man, because you're also doing a podcast called Pacific Perspective with the Oilers, and with an Oilers fan, actually. How did you get started with that, recording with an Oilers fan? Because it's kind of an interesting conversation to have when you have opponents getting together and make a podcast.
So the Oilers fan is Kyler Mimamoto, another Instagram account that I've known for a while. He's might be the biggest dummy on the planet, and it's incredible. We have a good dynamic because we've known each other for so long, just through the Instagram. He had another account that got taken down, so he lost a lot of followers from that. But we've been friends for a good amount of time, so our chemistry is good. Our dynamic on the podcast is good. We just kind of yell at each other, and then there's some sparkling moments where we agree with each other. But he had talked to me in the summer. I had no plans on doing a podcast. I didn't want to do a podcast. I didn't want to be that white guy who has a podcast. But he reached out to me and was like, yo, it would be kind of sick if we had a podcast where it was two fans of different teams, especially rival teams, because it's not really something that's been explored that often. Most podcasts, everybody is a fan of the same team. You're specifically focusing on one team, or you're focusing on the NHL as a whole. But to look at these two teams, it's so perfect that we started it now, because obviously there's the playoff series in May. You can explore these two teams' seasons together, and they're very intertwined, being both in the same division and being both Canadian and both supposed to be good. It's an interesting podcast to go through because, again, you get the perspectives of two different guys from different teams. You get some arguments, and I think it's a pretty creative thing. It's been fun to do. I've really enjoyed it. It's kind of just having a conversation with my friend about hockey where I can take out all my anger on him, and it's just content. So it's been fun.
I guess we can all agree that Calgary sucks, right?
That is true, but they're better than us.
Yes, that's probably my Canucks bias coming out, because I will never admit that they are better than us. No, I won't. So I was poking around Cameo, and at the start of the year, I was thinking about getting a Canuck to do some stingers for Nothing Is Perfect. And at the end, I ended up finding you on there. So what's it like actually being on Cameo and doing kind of shout outs for people when they're calling you out?
Well, I knew that to apply to be on Cameo, you needed 30,000 followers at least. And once I hit that, I applied for fun. I didn't expect anything, and I didn't hear anything back. And then a couple months later, I was like, "Ah, why not? I'm just gonna do it again." So I sent it. I sent in a request again, and they were like, "Yeah, you're approved." I didn't expect that to ever get approved, because like I don't think I'm the kind of person for Cameo really, and I've felt a little bit guilty too doing it, just because I would have done these for free anyway. If people DM'd me on Instagram about it, I would have done it for free before I had this. But now obviously I can't, because people have paid for it. I don't want to be robbing them of money. But I've set my price so low. Like if you search up hockey and you sort by lowest price, I'm like one of the first ones to pop up. So I think it's okay. I think it's fine. I actually, when I set my price, I set it at $5 USD, because that's the most I felt like morally okay with doing. And the person from Cameo reached out and was like, "It's a little low. You want to go to $10 maybe?" And I was like, "Nope." And I haven't switched it since. So it's $5 USD. I do some promos during some months where I donate all the earnings from the specific month to charity. I'm currently not doing that, but I'll probably do it again in the playoffs. I don't even. They're kind of not the most fun thing to do ever, especially with some of the requests I get. There have been requests where I like am cringing full body before doing it, and then I do it and I put on a crazy, amazing show. And then after, I just sit there thinking about what I said for like 30 seconds. But it's still a pretty fun thing, and it's kind of cool to just be able to say I'm on Cameo, with Hank from Breaking Bad.
Well, Nucko, we really appreciate you coming on the show today. We love having you on. We would love having you on sometime in the future. Maybe come on, do some breakdowns during the Canucks games, see if you can give us some insight into how the Canucks are playing that game. So we'd love to have you come back on sometime.
Yeah, I'd be down. I never have any shortage of yelling to do at the Canucks. So whenever, just let me know. Thank you for having me.
Thanks again, and I hope you enjoyed the game. Well, I hope we all can enjoy the game tonight.
You too.
We'll see.
Nothing is perfect.